Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caroline and today we're going to talk about how you can find a job that you can do and that you love with chronic illness. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video, share the video, turn on those notifications. You know the drill. I would really appreciate it. If you're watching this, there is a chance that you are already living with chronic illness. And if that's the case, you also know that the modern day society work market is not designed to include all types of people. And it's really, really sad because I actually think a lot of us with chronic illness who have been forced to either not work at all or work part-time or something like that, I actually think we have a lot of potential. We have a lot to give. We have a lot to contribute with. But the work market is just not in any kind of way flexible. And I think that's really sad. I understand that, of course, if you work in a supermarket, it's a little bit hard to work from home, obviously. But I think there's a lot of types of jobs out there where if we could just do it at home, we could probably work a lot more than we do. And if we could do it in the hours that fit our body, so that, if you feel best in the evening, you could work there instead of having to work from 9 to 5 or something like that. But for some reason, employers don't really trust that we can handle that. So they throw away people with chronic illness if they have any types of demand in order to do the job, because they can't use us, right? They just discard us. And it's really, really heartbreaking when you're chronically ill to be told that you can't be used for anything in society. It's really sad, and especially because at the same time people are kind of mad at you for not contributing, but at the same time nobody gives you the opportunity to contribute. Like, it's a little weird, right? Luckily, there are, of course, jobs out there that we can do. And for some people, it's more or less. Some people, it's like out of the question to work, right? Out of the question. For others, like me, you could work part-time. And for others, you may actually be able to work full-time if you find the right job and a job that you can do at home, for example, or something like that. Or you're just very lucky to find one of those, like, 1 in a billion employers who have a heart and see potential in people nobody else see potential in. But yeah, miracles does happen, of course. But how do you find out? How do you find out what you can do and also find enjoyment? Because one thing is to have a job, and sometimes we just have to take whatever there is, right? Of course, because we have to support ourselves. But having to spend a lot of years working, if you're able to do that, sometimes it's nice that it's something you kind of like to do as well, right? So how do you find a job that you can do with your chronic illness and you also love? And it's not easy, and there is no miracle way to do it. I'm gonna be honest with you. But what I thought I would do is I would share my story with you on how I got to work at the school I'm working at, in the school library. That I absolutely love. I love my job. So the most important thing is probably to be open-minded, I would say. When I had depression and anxiety back in 2020 and I was on sick leave, and I found out I had ADD and my Crohn's didn't think it was fun either. That was when I had the final slap in the face from my illnesses that said, Caroline, you can't work a normal job. You just can't, and you can't work full time. It's not realistic for you, right? And so I had to give up the dream of having a normal job. And it was pretty hard because a couple of months before I went down with depression and anxiety, I actually graduated as a pharmacy technician. And my dream wasn't to necessarily work in a pharmacy. Actually, I had this idea that I wanted to work for a pharmaceutical, and I wanted to work in sales. So I wanted to travel around and sell non-prescription drugs. And the whole big dream was to work for a company that works with, that makes something like substitutes. And then be a salesperson for that, because I really think there's a lot of potential in substitutes, vitamins and minerals in substitutes, and also probiotics and so on. So that's actually something I really wanted to do. And that takes a lot. Like sometimes you have long weeks, sometimes you might not have, but it's a hard job. But I really wanted to do it, and I could see myself traveling around, talking to a lot of different people about these things. And, especially if I could work for someone who made, not substitutes. I called it substitutes. It's supplements. It's called supplements. I'm talking about a company that makes supplements. Anyway, especially if I could work for a company that makes supplements, because I would be very passionate about that, right? But that came to an end. And the thing is, I couldn't see myself working in the pharmacy technician field at all, because it is a very demanding job. If I work at a pharmacy, I would have to be there at certain hours a day and different times a day, having shifts, and I would have to talk to a lot of people, and there wouldn't always be the possibility to just take a step back and breathe, because if there's a lot of customers, you have to help them, right? And then I thought maybe, hospital, but then again, I was like, that's also like something about having shifts, and I just didn't see myself working at a hospital. We have this system in Denmark where when you're sick and you start to get treatment and you start to get better, you can go into internships when you're on sick leave to find out how much you can work and what type of work you can do. And then in my case, I got what we call a flex job, where I work 16 hours a week. I get paid for that, and then I get a little bit of social security as well, so that I have a decent income and I can support myself. And I'm really grateful for that. So I started to try and find an internship at one point where I could test what I could do and how many hours and so on. And I did actually at first try to find something in my field, but it wasn't really working out. And then, long story short, I ended up at a school randomly who needed help to redo their library, because it was a little outdated. They wanted to throw out all the books that wasn't relevant anymore, or was like old and used, and and they wanted to rearrange and make it a little bit more modern and inspirational, also for not just the students but also the teachers and and so they really needed someone who could help with that, because the teachers obviously also had to teach and meetings and stuff like that. So they really needed someone who could just just do that and not have to do other stuff. And so I ended up doing an internship with them, and it turned out to be the best thing in the whole world I've ever done for myself. Because when I was done with the whole test period where they find out how much I could do, I was told that they would love to hire me in a flex job, because they didn't know how to not have me there anymore. Like, I did so much. And this is the thing, right? I started by reorganizing the library, and it was actually really good for me, because I could just walk around not having too much contact with people, because I was very anxious still, and I could just do what I could in the speed I could do it, and so on. So it was actually really good for me. And then the thing is, I was really anxious, and I was anxious because of the pandemic. I was really afraid of getting COVID and dying. Well, actually not even dying, but get more disabled than I already am. It was really weird. And I have to say that the thing that actually helped me get over it, not get over it, because you never really get over it, right? But the thing that helped me bounce back and made me so much more less anxious and made me so much more able to handle my anxiety was actually the children at the school. And this might sound strange, and it is maybe a little bit strange, but it's because there's something like, they didn't know what anxiety was, right? And they didn't know that I had it. And they just don't have the same, oh, she's anxious, we shouldn't get too close because she's afraid of bacteria and viruses, so we are keeping our distance. They don't have that filter, so they just embraced me. And sometimes they got a little close to me. Sometimes they wanted a hug because they liked the new librarian or something like that. And because it was children, innocent children, it was like I couldn't push them away when they wanted a hug. I just couldn't do that because I was like, they're gonna see that as a rejection. I was like, I can't do that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna hug you and then I'm just gonna die inside. But eventually I realized that I was feeling a lot more comfortable around them. I redid the library actually, and I started getting more and more tasks, right? Because they found out that I was kind of technical. So I was actually really good at making like flyers and signs for the library and that kind of creative stuff. And because I was creative, they were like, maybe you could do some events for the kids, some competitions, it's Christmas, let's do a Christmas competition, something like that. And then I started to get my own responsibilities. For a while I had been helping the person who had the responsibility for our, and I don't really know what you would call that in English, but it's like it's this institute that has a lot of books that they can send to schools so we can lend them. So if you have a class that needs to read a certain book, you can order it from that institute and they will come home, and then you have to give them back within a couple of months or something like that. And this is because obviously we can't have all books in the school because then there would be no space for the children. So it's like kind of like a library for schools, right, where we can bring in more books that we need. And I was helping out with this, and then because the teacher who had that responsibility was very busy, it was decided if I wanted to that could be my responsibility. So now I found myself having an area that was like my responsibility. And I just slowly started to get more and more responsibility. We just went through a process where we made our student files online. So we had to scan them and file them in this online program. And I was with another person responsible for that, and I'm still responsible for it. Every time something needs to be filed, I'm one of the people who file them. So I started to get more and more responsibility, especially after it was determined that I could stay as a flex jobber. And I have to say, I really love my job. And what is it I love about it? First of all, I love that they love me, right? I absolutely love that they feel like I am, they can't spare me, right? I am so essential for the school somehow. They tell me, you created your own job, Caroline. And that makes me incredibly proud. So just the whole fact that they value me makes it really fun to go to work. Because I'm only there 16 hours. I have all my things. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I'm not that productive. Other times I'm maybe more productive and so on. But they just value what I do so much. Even though a lot of it is what everybody else don't have time for. But still, they value that I do it. And also, I really like, because we have all these small events and competitions, and we make displays with, well, what can I say? It's when it's Easter, we make Easter displays and stuff like that. So I also get to use my creativity, and I'm actually a very creative person. And this allows me to actually use my creativity. And I have gotten really good colleagues, really good friends at work. And nobody looks at me as the sick flex jobber, right? They all see me as a co-worker who is, can't be replaced, and we can't live without her. And I also am very independent at work. I have my tasks, but I do them the way I want to, and when I want to, and when I can handle it, and I kind of have my own schedule in a way, and that's really good for me. That's also why I wanted to be a salesperson who drove around, because then I could, kind of make my own plans, and I kind of like that. I am getting different challenges. Later this afternoon, actually, I have a webinar about books that are really popular with the kids. So, I have to not have to, but I'm attending it voluntarily to find out what do we need for our library. And it's just really hard to explain. I've never seen myself work at a school. I've never seen myself work at a library. But the combination of being able to use my skills, being given responsibility, being told how happy they are at work there and they don't know what they would do without me. And so having a value to someone, right? Even though I'm sick and I can't work full time and I get some social security and blah, 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 you know, I actually contribute to the people in that school. And this is both employees, but also the kids. Like, I actually make a difference. They value me. And that's why I think this is the best job I've ever had. I really love my job, and I have never seen myself in that job. I never even, like they said, it wasn't even a job. Like, for real, it wasn't like something you could be in a Danish public school. It's like, it was completely because I needed an internship. They needed a little bit of help, and then I literally created my own job title. I really did, and I'm so proud of myself. And I'm really grateful and happy that that's where I ended up. That was just a story of how I ended up finding a job that I could do and that I absolutely love, even though it was not the direction I thought I would go in. So it's not easy to do this, right? It's not easy. It's not easy even if you weren't sick, right? But it's really hard when you are sick. And I know that not everybody lives in countries where you can do a program like me, where I got into an internship on my demands to see how much I could work. And I know you can't get a flex job in all countries and all that. I know I'm very blessed in many ways. If I should give you some practical advice, be honest with yourself about what you can do and what you can't do and how many hours. Don't overrate how much you can do and what you can do. And try to shift your mindset from this is what I should to this is what I can. Also in the terms of, well, this was the path I was on. I was on this path to become a pharmacy technician. Now I work in a school library. That's like two different worlds. But take a broader look, because you never know who out there could use exactly you, where it doesn't matter you have this or that or that. Keep an open mind. Maybe it's not what you pictured, maybe it's not what you imagined, but it might turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. This next thing is going to sound a little bit weird, but sometimes it can actually be good to look at schools, for example, to see, do they need maybe an assistant in class who can help or something like that for a few hours a week, or you know, elder centers, or in general just jobs where it requires some kind of humanity to work there, right? Because let's face it, you can't be a school teacher and think that everybody should just pull themselves together and shut the learn what I'm saying. Like, that's not it. You have to like children. You have to have some kind of empathy to work with humans, right? You have to, not that they always have that, but the chance of them seeing that they can use you for, if you can work 10 hours a week, maybe they can use you for something, is bigger in the fields where you do have to have a certain level of empathy in order to work there, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Why would you work with humans or animals or something like that, right? Why would you do that if you have absolutely no empathy for any of them? So that can actually be a really good idea if you want a greater chance. I hope this video inspired you a little bit to hear a story of someone who went from having this dream as a pharmacy technician, and then that was taken away in a very short amount of time, and then actually ended up in a place that I absolutely love to work. I hope you really enjoyed the video, and again, subscribe, like the video, share the video, turn on notifications, do your thing. You can also follow me on Instagram. So have a blessed rest of the day, and I'll see you next time right here on my channel, The Art of Being Ill.